I know, typical MMA realist, dropping a prediction video the day of the fight. But as you all know, the main event of UFC 313 is Pereira versus Big Ank, and this is a make or break moment for Pereira, because to be honest, this is probably the hardest stylistical matchup for him. And this is the fight we've all been waiting for ever since he became champion, and it's finally happening. Now there's a lot of different opinions on this fight. The Pereira haters think Pereira is gonna get absolutely belolled by Ank, while potards think it's gonna be a walk in the park for Pereira. But the reality is, it's pretty close. And that's why in this video, I'm gonna attempt to break down and predict this fight. And you guys already know how it goes. Let's start by going over the strengths and weaknesses of each fighter. So Pereira's biggest strength is of course his striking. And when you think of his striking, the first thing that really comes to your mind is his left hook. He has crazy power in it, and he's extremely good at setting it up too. Matter of fact, he has crazy power in almost everything he throws. Then there's also the leg kicks. He probably has the best leg kicks in the game right now. I mean, he outkicked the leg kicking merchant Adesanya himself, and the guy is also extremely technical even though he looks pretty unorthodox when he fights. And on top of that, he has a pretty goated chin as well. At middleweight it was actually nerfed heavily due to the weight cut, but at light heavyweight he's able to take clean hits from Jiri, who's probably the second hardest hitter in that division besides Pereira himself. Now he has some weaknesses, and the biggest one is obviously his grappling, and on the feet he does actually get hit quite a decent amount, but he rolls with the punches really well, so it does kind of get cancelled out. Now when it comes to Big Ank, a lot of people have this misconception that he is a grappler because he's from Dagestan, but he's definitely more of a striker, and a really good one at that. Now on the feet, his main weapon is his boxing. He's very technically sound, and he has really good counters as well. Definitely one of the best boxers in the division, and on top of that he has really good power too, and besides his boxing, he actually has pretty good front kicks as well. Now I know I just said Ankalaev isn't a grappler, but even though he doesn't grapple too much, what you need to understand is, if you're from Dagestan, you automatically know how to grapple, unless your name is KO Magomed. But all jokes aside, he is one of the best grapplers in the division, but that doesn't really say too much because light heavyweight actually kinda has a shortage of good grapplers. Now he does have one very obvious weakness, and that is the leg kicks, because he stands pretty lead leg heavy. The guy got his legs absolutely destroyed by Blachowicz in their fight, and Rakic also landed a ton of leg kicks in their fight. And sometimes I feel like he's a little too passive on the feet, because of the fact he's looking for counters. Now that said, let's go over the win conditions for each fighter, and let's start off with Pereira. And Pereira is gonna want to keep this fight standing, and on the feet he's gonna look to spam that leg kick. It's gonna hit home every single time for him. Listen, if Rakic were landing them, Pereira's definitely gonna land them too. Now Pereira's also of course gonna want to land that left hook, and Ankalaev actually has a pretty relaxed lead hand, which does make him more susceptible to attacks from that side. Now because Ankalaev is also a counter striker, I don't think Pereira needs to force boxing exchanges here. Instead he can just lay low on the back foot and spam leg kicks in order to force Ankalaev to engage first, which Ank isn't bad at. He showed he's good at that in the Rakic fight, but his bread and butter is really his counter boxing, and because he's so counter heavy, it's very necessary to use feints against him in order to draw out reactions from him, which can lead to openings. Now Big Ank on the other hand is gonna want to take Pereira down in order to take away his biggest weapon, aka striking, and on the feet he's gonna be looking to land that straight left hand, which is probably his best punch in my opinion, and Pereira's pretty hittable actually, and Roundtree was landing it a lot in their fight, which makes me think Ankalaev could probably do the same. And he also needs to take this fight into boxing range. He just can't be passive on the outside because he'll just get his legs destroyed, and he also needs to pressure forwards in order to use his boxing, but also to mix in his takedowns. Now how do I think this fight is gonna go? Well, as I said in the beginning, this is an extremely close fight in my opinion, but the first thing we need to address is the wrestling, and Ankalaev certainly has the skills to take down Pereira and smudge him, but there's one thing we can't forget, and that is that Pereira's probably been working his grappling like crazy ever since he got into the UFC, and because he's still relatively new to it, he is gonna improve a lot from fight to fight. Now another thing we can't forget is that Ank isn't even a wrestler. He really won't wrestle unless he's really losing on the feet, and he doesn't submit people on the ground either, which makes me confident in saying that Pereira will survive on the ground, especially when you take into consideration that he survived with Blachowicz on his back for a whole round, and Blachowicz is not the best grappler, but it's still something you have to factor in. Now do I think Ank will grapple? Yes, but I think he will try to stand up with Pereira for a bit early early. And now when it comes to the stand-up, the reality is that Big Ank could actually catch him here. Pereira is pretty hittable, and Roundtree was landing that straight left hand a lot early in their fight. Now the difference is Roundtree is a lot faster than Ank, but Ank is fundamentally and technically a better boxer than Roundtree. And it's also worth mentioning that Pereira was apparently pretty sick in that fight. Now Ank is going to have to pressure forwards in this fight because Pereira is going to have that reach on him, and if he just stays on the outside, he will just get outkicked by Pereira. And Ankalaev showed that he can fight going forwards, but it's not going to be as easy as it was in the Rakic fight. Rakic has no danger factor on the feet, and that makes it very easy to just walk him down. And that is just simply not the same against Pereira, because Pereira is knocking out everyone he's catching clean. He's knocking out this guy left and right, this guy left and right. Everyone's getting slept, okay? So it's a lot more dangerous to enter into a range where he can catch you than enter into a range where Rakic can catch you. And a lot of people have this idea that Ank is just a straight up better boxer than Pereira, and he's gonna completely outbox him on the feet, which is not necessarily the truth. I mean, if we're speaking fundamentally, then yes, he is more fundamentally correct, but they're just different kinds of boxers. But in my opinion, I don't think Ankalaev is going to outbox Pereira. I think he can land some straight punches down the pipe early, but if you look at how Pereira moves, he kind of sways side to side sometimes in order to load up punches. But another benefit to this is that it makes it easier for him to slip straight punches, and we actually see this a lot in his fights. He is actually pretty good at slipping and countering straight punches down the pipe, and even if he does outbox him, that power is just such an equalizer. It really only takes one slip up from Ankalaev and he's done. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm leaning more towards Pereira here, because Big Ank needs to wrestle consistently in this fight to win, and I just simply don't think he will. Now don't get me wrong, if he comes out right away and starts wrestling, he can win, but I don't think he will, because think about it, how many times have we seen him do that? He basically only shoots later into the fight, and I think he's gonna try feeling him out on the feet first, and you just can't do that against Pereira. You will get slept eventually. Now in the Roundtree fight, Pereira had a difficult time adjusting to the speed of Roundtree, and he was sick, but Ankalaev is not as fast on the feet, and he is a counter striker. But in this fight, he needs to press forwards against Pereira in order to negate Pereira's leg kicks. And if he does get into boxing range, the problem is when you do that, you're walking into Pereira's boxing range, and he can literally sleep you with literally anything there, which is a very dangerous game to play. But if he doesn't do that, he will get his legs shoot up, and it will be harder for him to land takedowns off the back foot. And even if he does decide to consistently grapple, Pereira's probably been working on his takedown defense a lot, and he's actually pretty good at defending on the ground and getting back up to his feet. And Ankalaev also doesn't finish people on the ground, he blows them. And this is gonna give Pereira opportunities on the feet, so I will be picking Pereira by early KO in this fight. Now that said, this is kind of a 50-50 matchup in my opinion. We can be seeing Pereira getting bewalled for 5 rounds straight, or we can be seeing him getting caught by a left straight down the pipe. But in my opinion, which is the truth, I do think it's less likely than Pereira putting him out cold. But that said, I think that's it for today guys. Check out my last video where I talked about Pereira versus the lightweight division. But anyways, thanks for watching, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Am I just a Pereira glazer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and also don't forget to share this to a big Ank fan. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye!